illustrating the plants of the Quran. Please help me in welcoming Sue Wickison to the stage.
Came around this way.
No worries.
Wow, what an event. Goodness. Okay, so convergence, it's not just simply things coming together, but it's also what becomes visible. What becomes visible when we take away the boundaries that we put in place. And I realize that my life has been a series of converging paths, like stepping stones through your life that have led you to key points along the way. And so starting in West Africa, where I was born and brought up, I went into the bush with my father collecting plants. And this established a passion for plants and also an observation for plants. And later in life, this led to a career as a scientific illustrator. And I worked at Kew Gardens, putting plants under the microscope, drawing them in fine detail for scientific papers. And then from Kew to the Solomon Islands, where I went into remote places and into forests, collecting orchids, which was an amazing experience. Orchids new to science, and an incredible experience. So this was the next step. But they were moments that were taking me on a journey towards something really important. And that importance, I didn't realize at the time, was a visit to the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi. And the mosque, I had no idea how it was going to change the direction of my life completely. The mosque is inspirational in so many ways, with the patterns on the floor, on the walls, on the columns, but they're not what you expect. They're not geometric. They're botanical, they're floral, and they're astonishing. But this was what inspired me to ask, what are the plants? What do they mean, particularly in the context of the mosque? So the mosque was a catalyst, and it was a convergence of the meeting, the visit, and then faith, science, and art that led me on an 8-year journey to record the plants of the Quran. So from here I realized that sometimes life has more important moments when you realize that worlds that you think are actually separate, but they start to converge. And life is richer and way more important when you start to look at finer details and you learn to look more closely. And so from the mosque and from the journey, it led me to the mountains in Oman. What a starting place. It was incredible. So to the mountains in Oman, where it was stark, it was fascinating. And I was there to observe heritage plants that had been grown for generations and plants that hadn't changed. But I realized that they had more than botanical meaning. They held symbolism, they held history. And so also in the mountains, they had the element, the water, the absolute essence of life. And the water was brought down from the mountains in these ancient foliage systems that are 2,000 years old. And they're stone trenches, and they lead down into the valleys like a network of veins, irrigating the land and sustaining communities. And I realized that this was an incredible example of cooperation and also one of convergence, and a living example of convergence, of stone, of history, of water, of hard work, of cooperation, with sustain the community. So in contrast, from the water, from the mountains, from the greenery, to the deserts in Sharjah. And I was introduced to the Ajwa al-Madina date, which was part of the group of the plants for the Quran. And somebody saw the painting later and they said to me, "Sue, how long did it take you to dash off the painting?" I thought, dash? Dash is not a word you'd use for botanical illustration. It is disciplined. It has a responsibility. It's measured. It's meticulous. It's tiny. It's detailed. You can't dash it off. It takes forever. And so the painting of hundreds of dates was dashed off in hundreds of hours. So with paintings and plants, you have to observe from living material. You observe the finer nuances, the color changes, the textures. But the problem I had with the dates was, Sue, don't eat your specimens before you finish the painting. So I had to resist eating the dates, which we all know are so delicious. And dates, you eat the fruit and then you discard it. You discard the seed as something small and insignificant, but it's not. It's not insignificant at all. It has hidden meaning. And this hidden meaning was revealed in a conversation with a Muslim friend of mine when we discussed the convergence between science, faith, and art. And she described the seed, and she talked about the fatil, the little thread that holds the seed to the inside of the fruit. And she talked about the kitmir and the transparent sheath that is around the seed, and it stops it from dehydrating. I thought, yep, I've seen these, I've drawn them, I know about these. But then she talked about the nakir, the tiny, tiny little speck on the seed. And I thought, oh, I've missed that. So I had to eat some more dates, just to check, of course. But sure enough, on each seed, the little nakir is there. Of course it is. It's one of the most significant points of measurement within the Quran. However small as the nakir, you are still judged. Your deeds, whether good or bad, are still judged. I apologize about the paraphrasing there. But also from the palm, the point of view of the palm tree, it's important because it's actually the point of germination and regrowth. So how had I missed something so important as this tiny significant speck? And I thought, perhaps it's not the way, what I'm looking at, but maybe the way I look. And if I look more closely, then maybe I can observe, and what else will become visible to me. So the message was to look more closely and really understand and observe. So from the delicious dates to observing another plant in the desert, which was not at all as interesting, didn't taste as good either. And I thought, how in the world am I going to make this appealing for the audience to look at it? So I was just viewing it on first impressions. So I thought, change your viewpoint, change your perspective, look at it in a different way. So I did. I put it under the microscope. And under the microscope is a hidden world of wonder. And these tiny specks of yellow that I had seen became 1 millimeter flowers. And also the fruit. The fruit had wings on it, which I hadn't seen. And these wings changed color and went through a myriad of colors. So how could I have been so wrong to judge the plant on first impressions? We spend our times looking for the extraordinary, but sometimes the extraordinary is actually right in front of us. So enlarge, look more closely, and there's always wonder and intrigue within. And so the journey continued. The journey continued with beauty, with people along the way helping me, with generosity of spirit, with kindness. And certainly I could not have created the collection without people's help along the way. It was astonishing. It was a convergence of energy and passion and kindness that led me through. And for that, I help everybody. So it was a collective effort to produce the plants of the Quran. And the result was a book, a publication, which was The Plants of the Quran, History and Culture, and it's now in its 5th reprint. Also, there was a 5-month exhibition at Kew, which was incredible, of the 30 paintings, and I was honored to be there. But it was also, I was humbled. I was humbled by the reaction of people to see the work, and I was humbled that it was something that it still inspires. The topic inspires us, carries on to inspire. And in terms of inspiration, I realized that the next step I am very honored to say, is that the Islamic Arts Museum of Malaysia will be the new guardians of the work, and they will carry its message way further than I can. So I had traveled thousands of miles in search of remarkable plants. But the message I took home was much simpler. The extraordinary are not hidden. They're just simply, at times, overlooked. Whether it's a seed, a conversation, a person, a culture, if you look more closely, you will find points of connection, not separation. So I leave you with one request, one small, simple request, to look more closely and to appreciate the tiny, positive details that are there. And together, we can find more connections, not division. Thank you.